Good evening, καλησπέρα σας. Welcome to our show, Faces. Before I go further, I'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsor, Dr. Vasilis Mavru from Varosi Lettings. Thank you very much for sponsoring us, and wish you all the best. And I turn to another doctor, Dr. Munro.
Yeah.
Welcome to my show, Faces.
Thank you.
You okay?
I'm fine, yes.
I'm glad you are fine. Okay, I'm very happy to have you here because, I met you a few days ago, and the subject, it was very interesting, migraines and headaches.
Yes.
Okay, and you are a specialist for that,
Yeah.
as well as you are representing a charity.
Yes, that's
Okay,
right.
give us a little bit about yourself first of all. I mean, okay, give us more information. Who are you? I mean, about your position.
How I got here.
A little bit about your background. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So I trained as a general practitioner and I was a GP in the NHS for many, many years. And during that time, I developed some migraine. So I went as a patient to the National
So this
Migraine
is where it
Centre.
started from.
So this is where my interest started.
Okay.
And when I decided to change the way that I was working a little bit, one of the things I decided to do was to go and work as a headache specialist. So that's what I've been doing at the National Migraine Centre for the last several years. And the National Migraine Centre is a charity, and it specialises in helping people who've got headaches of any cause. But most of the patients that we see have got migraine. Some of them have it occasionally, and some of them have it all the time. But it's a very rewarding place to work, and I really enjoy it. So I work there with a team of other doctors, and it's a charity, so people can just refer themselves, just pick up the phone and ring us, and make an appointment, and we try and help them. Yeah.
Why do you think it was so important to form a charity for this?
The charity's been going for about 38 years.
Okay.
And the people who started it, I think, were very keen to help people who are suffering from migraine, because there seemed to be quite a gap in the understanding and the knowledge and the help available. And it originally started in the Barbican area in Charterhouse Square in a big old building. But we've recently had to move from there. And we're now based in Holland Park. But I think over the years, it fills a gap in the service. So GPs are very busy. NHS headache clinics are very overwhelmed with work. And so having somewhere that people can go, just take themselves there and see somebody who's got that bit of expertise and also a bit more time is really helpful.
Okay, bit more time is important.
Yeah.
What is the difference between migraines and headaches? I mean, okay, somebody had a headache and then he thinks that's it, it's a headache. But
Yes.
it's a difference between that.
Well, headaches cover everything that gives you a pain in your head. So they can be grouped into different classifications of primary headaches or secondary headaches. So sometimes a primary headache might be a migraine, but it might be something more serious. Or a headache might be a symptom of something else going on. So that's what we call a secondary headache. So if you have an infection, like meningitis, you'll get a headache, but it's not the primary cause is not in your brain, it's an infection. So migraine is probably the commonest kind of headache. There are other kinds. We do sometimes see people with a rarer kind called cluster headache, and people often think they have a thing called tension headache, but actually an awful lot of the time the headaches people are having are migraine. Migraine is specifically linked with sensitivity, so sensitivity to light, sound, smells and movement. If that's linked with your headache, and if you get a bit queasy sometimes or even vomit with it, then it's probably migraine that you've got.
So, I mean, where do you think the headaches are coming from? Why someone gets headaches?
Well, we know that people who are getting migraine have inherited at least 40 different genes that mean that their brain is already a little bit more irritable. Before anything else happens, their brain is slightly more sensitive to the things that I've mentioned. And whether or not you get migraines then depends on a whole lot of other factors like environment, your age, hormones, maybe the weather, all of those kind of things adding in. So we know that migraine is a disease of the brain, partly genetic and partly environmental.
Okay, in the case of someone, people get used to when they have a headache or they think they don't know it's a migraine.
Yeah.
They just go and take some tablets and they think that's it.
Well, sometimes that can work, yeah.
Yeah, it can work.
That can work very well.
Not all the time.
Not all the time. So I think one of the things that people get confused about is they say, well, my headache wasn't really that bad, so it can't be a migraine. But actually, sometimes migraine will settle down quite quickly if you just take some simple painkillers, and especially in children, because children can get migraine as well. We have some children as young as 4 and 5 in the clinic who are definitely getting migraine, but if you give them something to eat and drink, put them in a quiet, dark place, give them some simple painkillers, then often their headaches will settle down quite quickly. And that can happen with adults as well. Okay. But more commonly, we see people who are getting more severe migraines that can go on for 2 or 3 days, or sometimes they roll in from one migraine straight into another migraine, straight into another one, and that's when we call it chronic migraine. And unfortunately, some of the painkillers that are available over the counter containing codeine can make that more likely to happen. So it is a good idea to get advice if your headache is getting more frequent or more severe.
So what do you do, when someone contacts the charity and come to you? What is your services and how you treat headaches and migraines?
So first of all, we book people in for an appointment, which is a much longer an appointment than you would get in a GP 10-minute slot. So we normally allow 30 or 40 minutes for a new patient, and then people will come along to see us. The first thing we do is listen. So we need to hear their whole story of how they've dealt with their headaches up to now, what they think's going on, what symptoms they're getting, what things they've tried, what things have been helpful, what things haven't. So listening is the first thing. Then we would usually do an examination, and then we will work with them to work out almost like a recipe for them, an individual personalized plan that gives them some things that they can do themselves, like maybe eating more regularly or making sure they're sleeping regular hours. Or it may be simple medications for the acute headache, or it could be that they need to take something every single day. But it's not all about medications. There are other things you can do for migraine. So we know that acupuncture can be helpful. Some supplements can be helpful. Magnesium and vitamin B2 have got quite good evidence from scientific studies to show that they can help some people. And then there are other, more recently there's been some injectable therapies, a couple of nerve block type therapies which we use quite a lot at the centre, but there's also quite exciting new developments in injectable therapies that people can do themselves, one of which has just been approved in the UK for use, so we're quite hopeful that's going to be a new advance.
Where do you based? The charity?
We're based in Holland Park.
Okay.
So it's, West London.
And how
Holland
many
Park Tube or Latin.
doctors are there?
There's about 5 doctors at the moment working on doing surgeries, and we have a small number of staff. We run on a shoestring because we're a charity and we don't get any funding from the NHS, so we rely on the donations. So people who come to see us will give a voluntary donation of what they can afford, or we try and apply for grants and do some fundraising just to keep open, really.
So do you have many people visiting you? Do you have many patients at the moment?
Yeah,
or?
we're quite busy at the moment, and we're trying to increase awareness of our service because sadly the NHS services are really overwhelmed at the moment, and so we often find that people will wait a long time for an appointment at a neurology specialist headache clinic. And often these are people who are getting really severe headaches on a daily basis or very frequently, and that unfortunately that makes them kind of shut down aspects of their life. So they start saying to friends, well, I'll try and come and do that with you, but I'm really not sure if I'll be well. Sometimes they miss, events like weddings or their children's graduations because they've got headaches. So the more that we can get them back into their lives, then the quicker the better, really.
So actually is National Health is offering this.
Yeah.
The only difference is that you're spending more time for the patients. And do they have to register with you?
No, it's very flexible. So
Very flexible.
they can come and have an initial appointment, and then we would say, well, maybe come back in 3 months, or if you're feeling that everything is going fine, then leave it a bit longer, or if you're struggling, come a bit quicker. So that's the beauty of it, really, is that flexibility of appointments and the short waiting time. So if somebody phones our service, we can normally fit them in 2 or 3 weeks, whereas if they're referred to the more mainstream headache clinics, often they do have quite a wait, sometimes of a number of months. Yeah.
Do you try to avoid giving them medicine at the beginning? If there is any other way to treat them? For example, if you tell them to have a regular meals and or go to sleep on time and sleep well and all this kind of thing. Do you try this first?
I think you have to try
have
that. Normally they have tried various different medications, so I kind of say to people, let's go back to basics. Let's make sure all of these things are right. Your brain will be most comfortable if you have a regular routine. The brain of somebody suffering from migraine doesn't like change. And so the more regular the routine is, then you will get one step away from having migraine. So that is important as the first intervention. And I think a lot of people are quite keen not to be taking medication all the time. So we try and kind of give them some hints on lifestyle. Recently did a Facebook Live video just explaining all the different other things that they can do. So yeah, I think that's really important. I don't think people want you to just say, here's a prescription, because mostly that's what they've had before. It's good if you try a
different way.
Yes.
They might be, see themselves getting away with a different way, instead of using medication, So tell me, it was, Awareness Week a few days ago.
Yes.
So why is that important, people that...
Well, I think Migraine Awareness Week is a really good opportunity to tell people who haven't got migraine what it feels like, because it's often underestimated how severe an impact it can have on people. So we hear things like people saying, well, it's just a headache, isn't it? And actually it isn't just a headache, it's very debilitating. So a lot of our patients will say, when I've got one coming on, I can't think straight, I feel exhausted, sometimes I can't find my words, sometimes I get visual disturbance, I can't see properly. Other people can be very sensitive to the gastric upset that goes with migraine. So we know that as the brain gets more irritable, the stomach stops emptying properly. So that has 2 effects. Often it makes people feel quite queasy or even vomit, but also if you're taking painkillers, they don't get absorbed very quickly, by which time the migraine has taken hold and the painkillers seem not to work. So giving people advice about that is quite important. One of the reasons we were quite keen to get involved with migraine awareness, particularly this recent Migraine Awareness Week, was we did a survey about how migraine affects people in the workplace. And we found some quite shocking results, really. Nearly 50% of people said they were worried about losing their job because of their migraine. And about 16% of the people who replied to our survey had already lost their job due to migraine. And a high proportion were saying that they tried to keep going even though they've got a migraine, and felt that they, were struggling at work and that possibly their employers didn't understand. So so one of our targets this year was to talk to employers and say, this is a common problem. About 23% of the population have migraine. It's really common, and it's very debilitating. And if as an employer you can help your migraine sufferers when they get an attack by some simple measures, maybe have a quiet dark room, maybe make some adaptations in lighting or computer glare, make sure they've got fresh air if they need it, you can get your workforce back into working again quickly and help them to shorten the migraines. And the other thing is a lot of people are slightly penalised by work sickness policy. So any sickness policy that targets small absences, migraine sufferers do tend to get penalised by that. And if work can make adjustments of that, then it can be really helpful. So,
did you find it that the people is being interested about the promotion you did, about the awareness? Did the people, I mean, what kind of promotion have you done, and did you see people coming to you more and asking more questions? And all that?
We've been doing talks to companies, and just for an example, I did a talk to a big insurance company, and we did a webinar for them, and they said, we're not quite sure how many people will attend. And we had about 5 times more people attending than they had realised. And all of them were asking questions about their migraine. And I think that the company was really quite shocked that it had such an impact on so many of its workforce. So, yeah, that's something we're quite keen to do more of, actually, is getting out there and talking to wellbeing programs in companies.
When you started, when you had migraines, how you get on, and did you get help from others? And
well, not personally.
Yes, personally.
As a GP, you're quite busy. So when I was getting bad migraines, I used to have to sit very still and not move too much while I was doing my surgery. But yes, I did go and get some help, and I was beginning to then learn more myself about the whole concept of migraine, and that was largely due to the National Migraine Centre,
Did this came back afterwards, or you never had any migraines since then?
I wish I could say that, but because migraine is a genetic tendency, we can never say to somebody, we'll cure you.
Yes.
All we can say is we'll help you manage it and reduce the impact as much as possible. And so, if I'm honest, I can't say I never have a migraine again. I wish I could. But now I know how to manage them quickly, so they really don't affect me as badly as they used to. And luckily, as you get older, they do tend to get a bit better anyway, in most people. If they're not getting better, then we try and work out why they're not getting better, because the natural tendency is for them to improve slightly as you get older.
Okay. So what do you want to say to our audience, and how they can get in touch with the charity? Have you got any website? Have you got the telephone number? Or how they can get in touch with you?
Yes. So we have, probably the easiest way is to look on our website. So it's very simple. It's www.nationalmigrainecentre.org.uk. But if you just type in National Migraine Centre to Google, it comes up pretty quick to the top. And the phone number is on there. There's a form to fill in if you want to just email us asking for an appointment. There's also on the website, we're very proud of our website. It has a lot of information on there. We have fact sheets on all sorts of topics related to migraine. So there's some about migraine in pregnancy, migraine in children, advice on what to tell schools, that can sometimes be important, what kind of natural remedies there are available, as well as more about other medications and things like that. The other thing is we have a YouTube channel, so we have some videos on there about information, and several of my colleagues have done information.
Same address.
If you type in just National Migraine Centre on YouTube,
it's coming
you
up,
find
yes,
it.
and you have some videos there.
Yeah, we've got some
people
videos
can
there.
get more information on this kind of thing, yes. Okay, you still doing these, lectures?
Yes, yeah.
So if anyone who is listening now who has a
Yeah.
company and wanted to get in touch with you,
Yes.
you organize this and give
They
lectures
can just
to-
get in touch through our
Get in
website,
touch,
yes.
yes.
Info at National Migraine Centre. If they just email us or contact us via the website, then we'll
It
get back
doesn't
to them
matter
quickly.
how many, staff they have?
No, I have done ranging from sort of 3,000 up to well over, global. I did one for a big bank who had a large number of global employees. So we do webinars, or we can do just a talk in the workplace, whatever people like.
Yeah.
The thing, we do talks to general practices.
Yes.
We do training days for GPs. And we are also constantly trying to spread the word on Twitter and Facebook about, useful information. And so we've had a lot of interest in the newest information about the injectable medication, which there was recently approved in the United States, has been being used since May, and we have just started being able to prescribe it. It's quite expensive.
Is it?
People have to pay for it at the moment. The NHS is looking at whether it will be cost effective, so we're expecting this time, sometime next year, that the NICE approval, we're hoping will be forthcoming for that. But that is the first specific migraine therapy. An awful lot of the therapies we use to prevent migraine are borrowed from other conditions, but this one is specifically to treat migraine, and it's an injection once a month, and it seems to block some of the pain chemicals that trigger migraine attacks. So that's
So
quite exciting.
what is the percentage of sufferers? If you do you have any figures?
I think it's about 23%.
Is it?
In the UK? Yes. 3 times as many women as men get migraine, so it is more common in women. In children, it's about equal.
What is
up
the
until
reason
puberty.
for more in women?
We're not 100% sure, but women have a lot of hormonal changes, and so
Because of
hormones
that.
changing is certainly one powerful trigger. So we
it's one
often
reason,
see
yeah.
people getting more migraines around puberty. Pregnancy can change the frequency of migraine, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, and then menopause as well. But yes, it's often women of reproductive age who get their migraines coming thick and fast.
So, okay, that's very good. I mean, we know so many things about it. As long as, people get aware of it, and if they have any problems, they can get in touch with you by just going on a website, or do you accept calls as well?
Yes, they can phone the centre, yes, absolutely, and just have
Would
a word
you like
with
to give the number away?
if I can never remember the number.
No, don't worry about it. Okay,
It's on our
we can
website.
put it on the screen later on.
Yes, that would be lovely.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you spend more time now at the centre, or?
Yes, we're building up. It's getting busier and busier, actually, since I've worked
It's
there.
every day open, or?
At the moment, it's not every day, but
Not
we are
every day.
hoping to have it open every day. We're recruiting new doctors because we are seeing an increasing number of people coming along. And what we don't want is to build up a great long waiting list. So the whole uniqueness about it is that people don't have to wait too
So
long.
are these doctors active at the moment, working in hospitals and clinics, all this kind of thing?
We have a neurology consultant. We also have GPs who've taken a special training in being headache specialists. So a lot of us have a GP background, which is quite helpful because often people with migraine also have other conditions that can be sometimes contributing to their headaches. So it's quite useful to have that breadth of knowledge, really.
Dr. Munro, it was nice to have you here. And you told me earlier on that you have a nice connection with Cyprus as well.
Yes.
Which is something
Which is where I went
draw
on
your attention to go and visit Cyprus, I
Yes,
suppose.
well, I've been there on my honeymoon many years ago,
yes,
and been back several times since then.
Yes.
I love Cyprus. It's
Okay,
wonderful.
you going very often to Cyprus, or?
Well, Not recently, but
recently.
it's always near the top of our list when we're thinking, where should we go? Yes.
Yeah, it might be a good chance when you go to Cyprus to, organize a couple of lectures about
Well, yes,
migraines
if I
and
get an
headaches.
invitation, I'll be there like a
Yes,
shot.
yes, why not?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's good. Even, in the community, I think, if we
Yes.
organize something,
Yeah.
would you be interested to?
To be honest, I'm so keen that people who are having these headaches don't put up with them, that they get some good information, because any way that we can improve the life of people with these horrible headaches
Yes.
is a good thing. So I find whenever I go on a social event now, I'm almost invariably ending up talking about migraines and how we can help them. So
Yes, I think it's a good idea to organize something and lecture about this
Yeah.
and invite you to, so you can talk to people. Thank you very much again
You're
for
welcome.
being here tonight, and I wish you have a courage and stamina to go ahead and help people as many as you can. And it was nice to have you on the radio as well as television.
oh, thank you very much
And
for inviting me.
looking forward to see you soon. Might be in a lecture
Yeah, you never
for the
know, yeah.
community. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yes. Okay.
Lovely.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say a big thank you to you for listening to us. Thank you to Dr. Vasilis Mavros and Varosi Lettings for sponsoring our show. Thank you very much. And me and you are going to be together next Sunday, the same time, about 8:15 in the evening. Till then, have a good night.